Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
For shallow parsing, and ideas can be applied to any sequence leveling task. And the agenda for the week would be to work out the mathematics of maximum entropy Markov model and conditional random field. And we would like to see their application to shallow parsing. Shallow parsing means chunking. And the reason to apply to shallow parsing is that the sequence leveling task is very simple. It has only two levels, B and I. So we are looking at a simplified version of chunking without the actual level. It is without the actual category of the level. Okay, is it a noun phrase, verb phrase? We don't ask that. We work with only B and I. And today I'd like to do an elaborate discussion on feature engineering. So many of you are trying the support vector machine on the part of speech tagging problem. And hidden Markov model, conditional random field, maximum entropy Markov model, LSTM, CNN. How do they deal with features? Okay, features of the text based on which decisions have to be taken. So I'll do an elaborate discussion on feature engineering with an example, and hopefully that will clarify a lot of your doubts on feature engineering and how do you deploy the features for decision making. The decision making you would realize is a very simple one. At every position, we want to find out what will be the level at that position. Okay, and this is based on the observation we are making at that position and around it. Okay, that is the main problem, and that those observations have different properties and features. So this is the main issue. Let me repeat this once again. Our main task is to see what level I can put at a particular position based on the observation and properties of the observation at and around that position. Okay, this is a very precisely defined problem. Now we have to fix what is called the feature weights. Okay, the features need to be weighted. Not all features should participate or should contribute equally to decision making. So how do you find out the feature weights? So that we would like to illustrate or discuss with feed-forward network and backpropagation, not really maximum entropy and conditional random field, because gradient descent is extremely well deployed in backpropagation. So we are probably jumping the gun a bit without covering basics of neural network. Can we really discuss feed-forward network and backpropagation? You will see we can, mainly to communicate the ideas of gradient descent. And then we would like to move to deep parsing. We are now in chunking or shallow parsing. We'll go to deep parsing and mention the neural approaches to parsing, neural parsing. So this is the agenda for the week. I'm a little apologetic about the delayed arrival of the slides. I was working very hard to communicate to you the importance of feature engineering and how to approach this. Because feature engineering is really a matter of trial and error. It is a kind of magic, I would say. And you ultimately work with those features that work out of many, many different trials and errors. Okay, so I was trying to come up with a good framework to show you how to do feature engineering. And there again, you will see that I'm jumping the gun a bit because I'll have to appeal to word vectors and word embedding. So let me proceed. And the slide is algorithmics and mathematics of chunking. So we have many times made reference to noisy channel model, where input is a sequence, output is another sequence. And the best possible output sequence is obtained by maximizing the conditional probability of output given the input. You are seeing the slide called noisy channel model. And in sequence to sequence leveling, we are now doing a simple task of placing B and I levels at every position, called shallow parsing on chunking. Now, chunking versus part of speech tagging. Chunking is a much simpler task than part of speech tagging. There are only two tags in the simplest form, that is B and I. Now, chunking being the third level activity in the NLP pipeline has to make use of part of speech and morphological information. And this is slightly more complex when the type of the chunk is also required. So we looked at this sentence, he reckons the current account deficit will narrow to only 1.8 billion in September. And we have got the part of speech as he as personal pronoun, reckons as third person singular number present tense verb, the as dt, and so on. And based on the word, the properties of the word, we put B and I tags on the words, on the positions. Okay, we'll not talk about words, but positions. Now, we'll first look at the maximum entropy Markov model. Now, what is the reason for going into another model once we have studied hidden Markov model? Now, hidden Markov model is not very capable of handling features. It came from automatic speech recognition to natural language processing. But the power that obtains from making use of features, that cannot be handled very elegantly in the hidden Markov model framework. So here is the expression in front of you. Probability of S1, S2 up to Sn, which is the state sequence, given O1, O2 up to On, which is the observation sequence, is modeled as or simplified as product of St given St minus 1, comma Ot. It should be T really, T equal to 1 to N. Okay, so we are asking what is the probability of the next state given the previous state and the current observation. So T equal to 1 to N. And here comes the difference from hidden Markov model. The previous expression also was different because in hidden Markov model, we turned the probability around. We applied Bayes' theorem and worked with prior probability and likelihood, which gave rise to transition probability and observation probability. Here, the modeling is through exponential distribution. So probability of S given S dash comma O is equal to e to the power sigma A lambda A F A S comma O divided by Z O comma S dashed. So this is an expression which is modeling the probability of next state given the current state and the observation through an exponential expression, exponential function. So that exponential function is this. The core entity here is FA, which is the feature, Ath feature, with respect to my observation and S. Okay, and there are a number of features. Each feature is weighted by lambda A, denoting its importance, and A goes over the whole set of features. So I'm going to illustrate this with a completely worked out example. So the core entity here is feature. Next important entity is the weight for a particular feature. Next important point is the summation of these features, weighted sum of these features, which is nothing but the dot product of the weight vector and the feature vector. So those of you who have been exposed to neural network before or classifier before would immediately recognize a situation of multiplying an input vector by a weight vector, which comes all the time in classifiers like support vector machine, perceptron, logistic regression, and so on. So this expression e to the power summation is divided by a normalizing factor z, which is nothing but the sum of such exponentials over all possible states, all possible levels, which can be applied to that particular position. So I hope this expression is clear to you. Let me just repeat the essential points here. We start with the state sequence given the observation sequence. So for us, the observation sequence is the sequence of words, and the output is the state sequence, that is the level sequence. Now we apply Markov assumption. We cannot deal with this whole probability, the whole sequence given the observation sequence. We cannot deal with this. And we are solving actually a data sparsity problem by what is called back-off smoothing. Okay, we are actually applying back-off smoothing in the sense that we are breaking this large probability expression by chain rule and Markov independence assumption. So at tth position, I am interested in the probability of the level S coming at tth position, given the level at the previous position and the observation in the current position, or I could observe the whole observation also. Now comes a decision which you might question and wonder about. Why can't I take simply ratio of probabilities? Why do I have to introduce an exponential expression? I do it because I want to deal with the features. Okay, the ratio of counts doesn't allow me to do that. And here the most important, absolutely most important entity is FA, the Ath feature. Then the weight of that feature. Then the summation of these weighted features raised to exponential. Why raised to exponential? Why not simply summation? The exponentiation has a high discriminating ability. It can separate the decisions well apart by magnifying their difference. Okay, and also we can make use of interesting properties of exponential distribution coming from probability theory. In Maxwell-Markov model, S is the current state, S dash is the previous state, FA S, O is the feature function for the Ath feature, lambda A is the weight of the feature function FA, and ZA, S dash is the normalizing factor, also called the partition function. Now, the decoding is very simple. We have encountered decoding in hidden Markov model and are very clear through discussions as well as assignment as to how to do decoding. We can either apply Viterbi decoding or do beam search to do the labeling. So the moot question now is how to design this feature set and how to find out their weights from the training data. Okay, this is the two questions we now have to deal with. We have dealt with the decoding part. Viterbi can give me that procedure. So here is this example. So I start with hat, okay, and I observe hat, then go to B or I, the two states possible. Then I observe brown. From B I can go to B or I. From I can go to B or I. Then I maintain only one of the two paths ending in B, the highest probability path, and do not develop one of them. So I'll again have only B and I from this level. So that B and I will give rise to B and I once again, and so on. Now I see foxes, and I go from the ith state to one of I and B. Okay. Now this arc from I to B, I have pointed with a blue arrow. Blue arrow. This probability is probability of B given I, and the sentence brown foxes jumped over the fence. Okay, this is the probability. And the probability for the partial path will be the multiplication of these probabilities on the arcs. Okay, so this is the probability I'm interested in, and I want to find out this probability. Now here begins the elaborate discussion on morphology feature engineering, and I would request you to pay complete attention to this discussion because a complete problem has been worked out. You can use it for your assignments and projects. So I'd like to design the feature set, and I'm proposing a particular feature set. This is the characteristic situation for any NLP task, or I might say any machine learning AI task. How do I design the feature set? So while mentioning this, let me sort of ask you to look forward, because the pure deep learning community says that even this elaborate feature engineering, which depends on human judgment and human understanding of the situation, is not needed. We would like to create what is called end-to-end system, end-to-end. Okay, end-to-end system is giving only the input and receiving the output. No feature engineering, no intermediate work on the input. End-to-end system is given the input, get the output. But that is really an idealization. As time passes, people are continuously being faced with the problem of data. End-to-end systems are extremely data hungry. So you really have a problem with the data. You do not have so much of data. So you really cannot eliminate rules and features. So increasingly, the deep learning community is now looking backward to what rule-based systems and feature engineering-based systems have done. So this is a reality which is emerging, and deep learning systems are being combined with feature engineered systems as well as even rules. Okay, hybrid systems is the emerging horizon, I would say. So let me start doing feature engineering. First of all, word-based features. And I decide on a window size of 5, the current position, previous position, previous to previous position, following position, and following to following position. So 5 positions are in my attention. So first feature is the current word. And this is foxes. You can see that foxes is in red. The current word is foxes, and at this position I am desiring the correct chunk level. Is it B or I? I don't know. Previous word is brown. Previous to previous word is hat. Following word is jumped. Following to following word is over. So my first 5 features are these: current word, previous to previous word, following to following word. How did I decide that these 5 features would be there? Empirically. Okay, researchers working on many problems, on many languages, at many parts of the world, have reported that this looks like a feature set which works. And we are technologists and engineers. We have to give a lot of importance to what works and not simply, not simply at the theoretical framework. Theory has to be strong, but the practice also equally effective and impactful. So these 5 words are giving me the first 5 features. By the way, each of these features will be actually a feature vector by itself. So we are talking about 5 sub-feature vectors. Foxes will also be represented by a vector. Brown also will be represented by a feature vector. We'll come to that. The next set of features is part of speech tag based. So this is important because part of speech has been done immediately before chunking, and I want to make use of that work. Intuitively, part of speech tags are very helpful for shallow parsing or chunking because determiner, adjective, and noun, that particular pattern is highly frequent in any language. Okay, the blue sky, the green grass, a fat dog, a thin fox, and so on. So this pattern is so highly frequent and it is decipherable just based on the part of speech tag. So why should I miss using part of speech? And you have been asked in your assignment to check if part of speech really helps in chunking or not. So do chunking B and I levels without using part of speech, and do chunking with part of speech, see if there is a difference in the accuracy. This is an instructive exercise. So word-based features are done, pause-based features are done. Now here foxes is my word of attention, and this is the third position is my position of focus. What pause feature do I have here? I have NNS, foxes is a plural noun. And pause of the previous word is JJ, adjective. Pause of the previous to previous word is hat, sentence beginner. Pause of following word is VBD, past tense. Pause of following to following word is in, because over is a preposition. And you know that in comes as the tag for any preposition except for to. Okay, so now we have collected 5 pause features at 5 positions. By the way, these again will be sub-vectors. Okay. Now I would like to make use of the partial work done so far. This is the chunk-based features. So B or I of the previous word. In this case, for foxes, the previous word's chunk level is B. Okay, brown foxes. And previous to previous word, that is hat, that is a 1 word chunk. Okay, hat does not participate in any chunk, nor does it finish or belong to a chunk. It is a chunk by itself. So that's why B. Okay, so I made use of word feature, pause feature, and chunk feature of the previous 2 words. Notice that I cannot use chunk feature of the following words because they have not been chunked yet. Now I come to a very murky area and complex area. Okay, this is where a lot of ingenuity and trial and error thinking is required. So again, my window size is 5 and the morphological features are this. Does the current word have a particular noun suffix like s, es, ies, etc.? And for the current situation, the answer is yes. So foxes, it has a suffix es. Now this feature itself will be a feature vector, as we will very soon see. Does this position have a verbal suffix like d, ed, t? The answer is no. Foxes doesn't have a suffix d, ed, or t. Does it have an adjective suffix like li, meant, shun, etc.? No, because foxes is noun. Adjective suffixes will not apply. Does it have an adverb suffix like li, for example, and there are other suffixes. I think I should correct that. These are adjective suffixes. So does the current word have noun, adjective, adverb, or verb suffixes amongst a set of suffixes? Okay, and this will have to be represented again by a vector. Notice that we are not asking if there is a preposition suffix. The reason is that preposition, conjunction, exclamation, they do not have morphological transformation. Only the content words, noun, verb, adjective, adverb, have suffixes. Then I go a little deeper and I try to create a database of noun suffixes first of all. So I find EEER is a common noun suffix. It means engaged in something, associated with something. For example, auctioneer, volunteer, engineer, profiteer. ER is someone who performs an action. For example, helper, teacher, preacher, dancer. ION has the meaning of action or process. For example, celebration, opinion, decision, revision. ET means state or condition. Probability, equality, abnormality. Meant, action or result of action. Movement, retirement, abandonment, establishment. Ness, a state or quality. Fondness, awareness, kindness, darkness. Or a person who is something. Distributor, investigator, translator, conductor. SION, meaning state or being. Depression, confusion, tension, compulsion. Ship, position held. Worship, ownership, courtship, internship. TH, meaning state or quality. Strength, labyrinth, depth, warmth. So you can see this I borrow from linguistic work done for English language applied to nouns. Somebody please verify you're looking at noun suffixes. Noun suffixes. ER, ness, or, right? Right. Okay. So these are noun suffixes. There are adjective suffixes like able, evil, capable of being, preventable, predictable, credible. Al suffix, ant suffix like vigilant, defiant, brilliant, reliant. Ari, full, ik, ias, eve, less, and y. Less, for example, hopeless, faultless, fearless, restless. Then I have verb suffixes, ed, meaning past tense, laughed, climbed, called, n, meaning become, soften, fasten, lengthen, strengthen, er, meaning action or process, faster, bigger, fuller, ing, laughing, driving, eyes, memorize, authorize. These are verb suffixes. Adverb suffixes, li, word, and wise, backward, wayward, wise, clockwise, edgewise, li, bravely, simply, and so on. So I have looked at the language and collected all these suffixes. And again, I would request you to go to your mother tongue and see adverbs, nouns, adjectives, adverbs, what kind of suffixes they take, and list all those suffixes. So obtain the list of suffixes for the language you use as your mother tongue. Okay, so this is my list of suffixes, and this is linguistic work. Okay, so let's see how this linguistic work will help computational work and vice versa. Similarly, for prefixes also give a lot of information. For example, anesthetic, atheist, abject, abscess, ad, access, admit, assist, antecedent, anterior, ANTI, antioxidant, antibiotic, autoimmune, autonomous, benefit, benign, bifocal, bipolar, circumference, circumscribe, com, companion, concurrent, contradict, degenerate, depress, disadvantage, displacement. So collect prefixes also. Now, some important remarks on morphological features is that it needs morphology analysis. If we have shallow morphology analysis, then we simply separate the root from the affixes. I separate the prefix, separate the stem, separate the suffix. For example, disability, disability, 3. Okay. Reconsideration, prefix, consider stem, Asian, suffix. If I do deep morphology analysis, then I have to give features of the word also. For example, gender, number, person, tense, aspect, modality for verbs, which was discussed in detail in the last class. Statistical stemmers go by frequency of substrings. They do not use rules and linguistic knowledge. They go purely by frequency. For example, byte pair encoding, Morphesar, Porter stemmer. So the point is that if I am at a position and I'm looking at word features, if I have this whole repository of features, only maybe 1 or 2 will be applicable to this current position for the word. So mostly the feature bit will be 0 when I create a feature out of the morphological features of prefix, suffix, and other morphological features. Now I come to the last aspect of feature engineering. Remember, we are doing feature engineering. We are dealing with features at a particular position. The next set of features is based on word form. This I will call syntactic feature. Again, the window size is 5. Does it have capitalization? Foxes doesn't have capitalization. So answer is no, 0. What is the length of Foxes? 5. What are the orthographic syllables? That means syllables ending in vowel. There are 3 orthographic syllables, FO, XC, and S. What are the byte pair encodings of this? Maybe ES will be a byte pair encoding, substring, frequent substring. What are the syllables? There are 2, Fox and S. Okay, so this is the word property based, which is based on the form of the word. Next, I do a feature engineering, which is semantics based or word meaning based. So these are semantics based, and again window size is 5 because I'm looking at all the words around the current position, but I can do this only for the current word also. So is the word denoting a place, organization, or person? Foxes is not denoting a place, organization, or person. Is it animate? Yes. Is it carnivorous? Yes. So this way you can really go on increasing the meaning-based properties, even syntactic properties. It is very open-ended, and it depends on your insight into the problem. So these kind of things need what is called knowledge graph, okay, which is again becoming very important today. Knowledge graph, WordNet, VerbNet, PropBank, Freebase, DBpedia, all these are knowledge graphs. Even Wikipedia is a large knowledge graph. So how to integrate knowledge graph with deep learning is a very live research question, and in our lab we have dealt with this question quite a lot. However, the stand of the community is that most probably you do not need such elaborate feature engineering involving meaning and semantics when you are doing chunking. Most probably we don't need. And in our assignment also, that is support vector based pause tagging, we will not really go into semantic features. That would be an overkill. But when we do assignment discussion with you every 2 weeks, when we evaluate the progress you have done, we'll try to find out by adding, deleting features, what is the change in your accuracy level? That's an interesting question. It is also called sensitivity analysis or ablation study. And if you ask this question for a deep neural network, then such research is called explainability research. Okay, which feature or property is responsible for the decision that was made. So I'll come to this point of cyclicity in NLP, but let me complete the story of feature engineering for our problem. So we are considering our problem and we are designing the feature vector. This you will use for support vector machine, and if in future if we make use of maximum entropy Markov model, conditional random field, and even neural networks, these considerations will play an important role. So I would like to look upon the feature vector as composed of multiple compartments. The first compartment is the current word vector. Second compartment is previous word vector. Third compartment is previous to previous word vector. Fourth compartment is following words vector. Fifth compartment is following to following words vector, each of dimension 300. Why 300? I am suggesting that to represent words, you make use of pre-trained word embedding. I am jumping the gun a bit, but you will get used to this very quickly. You will be using word vectors and word embedding so much that it is okay for you to begin using it, even if you do not understand the theory and algorithm behind creating word embeddings. So pick up pre-trained word embeddings of dimension 300. It could be word2vec or GLOVE or fast text. I would suggest make use of word2vec. Word2vec. Okay. So this is for the 5 words at the current position and around the current position. Compartment 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, they deal with the pause vector. Current words part of speech vector has size 12 because we are dealing with only 12 universal pause tags. So the components are on or off. There are 12 positions, noun, verb, adjective, etc. It becomes on or off each component. So for foxes, the pause tag is NNS, JJ, verb, they will be 0. Previous words part of speech vector, previous to previous words part of speech vector, following word, following to following word, their part of speech vectors are also taken, each of dimension 12. Then we take the chunk vector. The previous words chunk vector can be only one bit, it is 1 or 0. Previous to previous words chunk also can be 1 bit, 1 or 0, 1 indicating B, 0 indicating I. There are only 2 levels. So the whole feature vector is now a combination of compartments. First compartment for word, second compartment for part of speech, third compartment for, or first set of compartments for word, second set of compartments for part of speech, third set for more features, fourth set for properties, and so on. So again, the current words suffix vector size is 100. We are assuming 100 suffixes are possible. Current words prefix vector, assuming 100 prefixes are possible. current words other properties vector like capitalization, length, syllables, and animacy, etc. Size is 50, assuming 50 such properties are possible. I'm not considering previous to previous word and next to next word. When I do so, I am asking what is the total size of the feature vector at the end of this feature engineering. Please verify that you are looking at total size of feature vector slide and there is a red text.
Yes,
One
sir.
of you?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So what is the size of the feature vector? Word based, there are 5 words, current position and around the current position. It is dimension 3 into 5, 1500. Pause based, again 5 of them, and 12 is the size, 5 into 12, 60. Chunk based, only previous 2 words, so 1 into 2. Suffixes in the current word, that vector size is 100. Prefixes in the current position, vector size is 100. And other features in the current position, size 50. So total feature vector size is 1500 plus 60 plus 2 plus 350, 1912. So you are dealing with an approximate feature vector size of 2000 dimension. Okay, so this completes the feature engineering done for sequence leveling, taking into account a very comprehensive view of the features that can be used at the position of interest. Okay, and this was an elaborate exercise, and that is why I was a bit late in sending you the slides, because I wanted to work it out completely. But it will be your responsibility now to see if it is effective in giving you high quality chunks or high quality part of speech. But I suppose you have got an idea about how to do feature engineering. Now I'll take question and do question answering. But before that, I would like to make a remark of the cyclicity. Natural language processing inherently has cyclicity. Semantic features need semantic analysis. That means foxes, is it animal? Is it carnivorous? So that requires information coming from a knowledge graph. Semantic analysis needs lower level of analysis, like morphology should have been done, part of speech should have been done, chunking, parsing should have been done. For example, if you take the string Bay of Bengal, Bay of Bengal should be combined together. You cannot deal with Bay and Bengal separately. If you are doing machine translation, it will become Bengal ki khadi in Hindi, Bangoposagar in Bengali. So you have to deal with this whole unit together. And the property of this unit, semantic property of this unit, is that it is a bay. It is a large water body with salty water in it, with occasional storms and cyclone and so on. Okay, so much of knowledge and nuances are hidden behind a piece of text. But that requires a lot of low-level processing, making use of features of constituents. And since everywhere there is uncertainty, we need probability. So we have to use instruments of maximum likelihood estimate, Bayesian theory, maximum entropy theory, and so on, or random field theory. So this is our task going forward, how to make use of these concepts for feature engineering and use probability. So this was an elaborate discussion on feature engineering. I would very much love and welcome questions from you, because throughout the course, you will have to do feature engineering of this kind, unless you are a hardcore deep learning person and say that no, I don't need all this, I will do only input to output transfer, do an end-to-end system. I do not want anything else. But that will not work. Okay, that is the experience of the community. You need feature engineering and even knowledge graphs and rules. Okay, so now questions.
The first question is Mohammad Ali Rihan. Why is Z a function of S dash if we are summing over S dash?
So this is a notational question. So good, you have a question on the notation. The thing I want to just say is that it is a summation of this kind of exponentials. I will make the notation more precise. The actual meaning here is that you are taking a sum over all possible labels which can come at that position.
Nikhil says Markov assumption is clear. Can you please explain back-off smoothing in MEMM?
No, this is my remark is not on MEMM. I am saying that just change your point of view a bit. Okay, when we are doing this kind of modeling, PS1 to SN given O1 to ON, why am I using Markov assumption and independence assumption, and why am I applying chain rule? The reason is that I cannot get this probability from a pre-existing database or training corpus, because it is very unlikely that this whole combination will appear as such in the training data. So the combination will not appear, but their parts will appear. Okay, so the brown fox jumped. The tag sequence of B, I, B, etc. given this brown sequence, brown fox jump, this whole pattern will not appear in the data, but brown will appear in the data. Brown with chunk, let's say B, will appear in the data. So right from the beginning, in any such argmax formulation, I am in the background solving a data sparsity problem, and I'm breaking this probability of a large quantity into small parts. This breaking into small parts and taking up their probabilities is called back-off smoothing. And that is not for maximum entropy only, it is for any kind of argmax based modeling, be it CRF, MEMM, HMM, anything. So all I'm saying is that this argmax computation from a particular point of view is a smoothing and data sparsity situation.
That's the next question is by Ritban. Z is just a normalizing factor though, isn't it? Why should it depend on the state before the state under examination?
So I think, yeah, I understand your point. This is a kind of, let me just change it just now. So this will be called, let's say S1, and the summation will be over S1, where S1 goes over all possible states, okay?
Rishi Agrawal asks, just like you had given an intuition for HMM using MLE, is there a similar intuition for maximum entropy Markov explaining use of exponentials?
Yeah, so we want a probabilistic formulation. I again would like to apologize that I have not written it precisely. I'll do that, but please get the idea that this numerator is concerned with the next state and the previous state, of course, and the denominator is over all possible states at a particular position. So I'll make it more precise in the next class.
Just like you had given an intuition for HMM using MLE.
Right, I got it. I get it.
Similar.
Yeah. So so here the problem is that I want to make use of the features, not only observations. Okay, so I want to look into the anatomy of each observation, dissect each observation, just like we did for Fox and ES. So dissect each word and get its features and parts. So there I do not have a convenient mechanism of aggregating all those features. So that's why this exponential modeling is used, where the exponent is a feature aggregator in the form of dot product of weight vector and the feature vector. But I think we'll make more and more intuitive statements about this going forward. The intuition is the maximum entropy principle, which says that in absence of any other information, model the situation such that the parameters are found out giving rise to highest entropy. So this is based on maximum entropy principle. For hidden Markov model, it was maximum likelihood estimate principle. Okay, so more about it going forward.
Drumil asks, since POS is a harder task than chunking, shouldn't we use chunking to help POS and not the other way around? I mean, to ask, is this done in research or is it just for our learning?
Well, so grouping of words has to make use of the word properties. Okay, and one of the properties, important properties of the words is power to speech. So grouping has to make use of property. You are also right that properties also have to make use of grouping, like in Bay of Bengal. So two consecutive NLP tasks have mutual dependency. Many times there is cyclicity. So that can be broken only by back and forth information transfer between the two levels. So because chunking has less number of levels and POS has more, doesn't qualify chunking to precede POS. Okay, the number of levels can be smaller, but the dependency can be unidirectional.
Saurav asks, window size should be 2 in chunking based features, right?
Chunking based features, yes. Chunking based features, you have to take the two previous words levels, yes.
The next question is by Piyush. How do we encode words to use them as features? Should we assign a single number to the word or represent the word as some vector? If we use one hot encoding, the feature space will become very large and maybe not give a good fit.
Correct, correct.
And Rohit one has tried to answer this saying word embeddings maybe.
Yes, yes. Now this point, of course, is important because word representation started the whole deep learning application to NLP. And word embedding, people tried to represent words as vectors. If you look at LSA, for example, lexical semantic association. So this was an attempt at creating word vectors. But one-hot representation actually doesn't capture commonality of word properties. Cat and dog, if you represent them by one-hot vector, their cosine similarity is 0, though cat and dog are very similar entities, both are animals. So that problem is solved by using word embedding, and we'll have elaborate discussion on word embedding in the course. For the moment, you represent words by their word embeddings or pre-trained vectors, which you can pick up from word2vec. For students new to machine learning, NLP, deep learning, do not worry. You will get this idea of word2vec very easily. Everybody is talking about them. You will get a lot of information on Wikipedia. And you can talk to the TA team, talk to me also. You can call me up anytime and discuss.
The next question is by Oishik Chatterjee. If we are using a window size of 5, then aren't we calculating P given S of T, P for S of T given O of T minus 2 to O of T plus 2, S given T minus 2, rather than just P of S given T, and then OT ST minus 1.
Yeah, yeah. So as I said, the main purpose of this slide was to show you modeling by exponential, where the exponent is a feature aggregator. That was the purpose. So I'll make this notation very precise.
The next question is by Piyush. Word2vec has around 300 dimensions, so that also creates around 1500 dimensions for the words itself. Won't these dominate other features?
Yes, yes, good question. So other features means the pause features and chunk feature, morphology features. Morphology features are also large in number. The whole point is that a large number of feature components are 0. Now, does a feature vector dominate other sub-feature vectors by virtue of its size? No, that's not very clear. That's not very clear. On the feature weights. So the answer is not very clear, I would say. You'll have to do experimentation and find out.
Sarvesh asked, will we be learning about knowledge graphs in this course?
Yes. We'll learn.
Parth asks, most features are 0 or 1 on off, but some like word length can take value as well. How do we do the encoding of word length, or should we simply concat the word length with other 0, 1 features?
Yeah, you simply concat the word length, which is an integer. Yes.
Right. And the last question for the day is by Bara Fazili. Can we use word embeddings trained on Brown corpus for designing feature vectors for post tagging using SVM?
Yeah,
So
you
this
can.
was
You can.
answered in the assignment channel, and we said you can use the word embedding based features. There was an extensive discussion between me and some other student.
Okay, good.
Answered this
But
multiple times.
yes, but my recommendation at this stage would be to use pre-trained vectors.
Right, right, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.